Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with apple butter. That's right, have you ever been eating applesauce and thought to yourself, this is good, but I wish it was like 1,000 times better? Well, my friends, that is a very good way to describe apple butter. And there's more good news. The technique for making this stuff is very, very easy. Except please don't confuse easy with fast. Okay, while super simple, this takes many hours. But the results are so well worth it, as hopefully you're going to find out. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And first up, we're going to cut up about 5 pounds of apples. And my favorite variety for this would be Granny Smith. But any classic cooking apple will work. And what we'll do before we start cutting is go ahead and take out the core. Which, if you have one of these cores, is pretty easy. Since all you got to do is sort of plunge that down through the middle. And then once that core has been removed, with hopefully all the seeds, we will simply cut this into quarters. And then you could, if you want, just start slicing these, but I like to give them one more cut, and then slice them into about 1-inch pieces. Alright, so that's one way you can do these. But let's say for the sake of argument you don't have an apple core. You could also do it this way. Okay, we'll make one cut straight down, next to the core, right about where you think the seeds would start. And then once that first slice is taken off, we'll set it down on the flat side. And then we'll make another cut straight down, again close but not too close to the core. And then we'll simply do that 2 more times. And while you will lose a little more apple than the first method, it is still a pretty fast and effective way to do this. And you may remember this technique from such videos as Ben Franklin Breakfast Bowl. Oh, and as you may have noticed, we did not peel these. So that's going to save us a bunch of time. But that's not the only reason. I also think this comes out tasting better and looking better and feeling better, since it's going to actually get thicker if we don't peel them. So if you've been peeling apples all your life for apple butter, I'm sorry. But you really did waste all that time. But hey, now you know. And then what we're going to do once we have our 5 pounds of apples prepped is go ahead and transfer them into whatever we're going to cook this in, which could be a roasting pan for the oven, or a heavy bottom stock pot for the stovetop, or as in my case, into a large slow cooker, which I think is by far the best and easiest method. And once those have been transferred in, we'll go ahead and add the rest of the ingredients, which will include a little touch of white sugar, just a mere 1.5 cups, as well as a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And I know that looks like a lot, but it's roughly half of what most people use, in case that makes you feel any better. And then to that, we're also going to need a little bit of salt, as well as, of course, some cinnamon. And then we'll finish up with some freshly grated nutmeg, which I took the liberty of freshly grating earlier. And then last but not least for our spices, we'll do a little pinch of allspice, which apparently tastes like all the spices put together. And then in a little plot twist, for some acidity, we're going to do some apple cider vinegar. Okay, a lot of people like to use lemon juice in this, but personally I think the cider vinegar works out better. And then we'll finish up with a splash of cold fresh water. And that's it. We'll go ahead and take a spoon and give this a mix. And once all that's been stirred together, it is now ready to cook. And cook. And cook. For a really long time. And if we are using a slow cooker, what I like to do is start it covered, on the highest setting, until it starts giving up its liquid and starts getting a little bit soupy. Which is going to take a little while. I mean, it's called a slow cooker for a reason. So even on the higher setting, this did take a good while to get to this point. And then what we'll do once this mixture does come up to temperature and start to soften up and get nice and juicy, is turn it down to the lower setting and let it cook uncovered for many hours. And exactly how many is going to depend on your slow cooker and other variables. But as usual, we're not going to go by time. We are going to go by appearance. But anyway, what we want to do is cook this on low for as long as it takes until it looks like this. At which point I'm going to grab an immersion blender and blend this smooth. Which really is quite a simple step if you have one of these stick blenders. But if you don't worry. You can just transfer it into a blender and then transfer it back. Of course, being very careful, it's hot. Alright, we never want you burning yourself, especially if you're going to blame me. And we do want to get this pretty smooth, but we are going to pass this through a strainer later. Or at least I am. You do what you want. But like I said, I do want to puree this pretty smooth. And that's it. We're still not even close to being done. Since once pureed, we're going to continue cooking this uncovered on low until it reduces even further and gets thicker and darker and even more intensely delicious. And other than stirring it once in a while, there's really nothing to do except wait and wait and wait some more. Okay, so the only way to screw this up is impatience. Let it cook, let it cook, let it cook until it's at least as thick and dark as this. And then what we'll do once we've determined it's cooked long enough is go ahead and pass that through a fine mesh strainer. And while this step is technically optional, it's only going to take a couple minutes. And since you just spent like 10 hours getting up to this point, that doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But anyway, you decide. I mean, you are, after all, the John Sutter of your apple butter that's not really a butter. Raise your hand if you're disappointed there's no butter in this. I know, me too. But it's fine, don't worry. We're going to put butter on whatever we put this on first. But anyway, we'll go ahead and pass that through a strainer, at which point we can go ahead and transfer that into whatever we're going to store it in. And please note, you're not going to be able to see the final appearance until it's fully cooled. Okay, that color is going to deepen, and it's going to thicken up. And hopefully once fully cooled, it should look something like this, which I think is just absolutely gorgeous. And at this point, it's ready to serve on so many things. Or maybe a cheese biscuit or a piece of buttered toast, or in my case, English muffin. But no matter what you serve this on, prepare to be blown away by its intense appley flavor. All right, you know those sticky brown juices that sort of bubble out of an apple pie? That is this in a spread form. All right, when you make a batch of this, it's basically like being able to have apple pie anytime you want. And by the way, if you stopped watching this video because you don't have a slow cooker, you shouldn't have. Because in the blog post, I'm going to tell you how you can do this without one. But anyway, that's it. How I do apple butter. It's always been a little shocking that applesauce is so popular in stores. But you almost never see this stuff. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's too flavorful and they're afraid people can't handle it. But anyway, thanks to this video, it doesn't matter, because now you have the technology to make your own. So I really do hope you give this a try soon. Head over to foodwishes.com for all the ingredient amounts and more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.